Welcome to Adventures in the Country, and I'm just gonna be playing random videos while I do the voiceover. So yesterday we had planned to go to San Antonio for Nando's work, and then in the evening, if we had energy left, then we would devote some time to one of our many ongoing projects. So anyway, we had to wake up at 3ish, and then it took like 2 hours and a half to get to San Antonio. I had trouble falling asleep during the way, so I kind of fell asleep once we were kind of there. And so I didn't actually get to see San Antonio, but I was there for the ride. Bought some very expensive canned peaches, but they were actually pretty good. I didn't know that they were that expensive. They were they were bought at the gas station. But anyway, I ended up cutting myself. Like, it actually did a lot. But it's healing now. A day later. And then, just went along for the ride. Basically, it was just like a road trip for me because I wasn't doing anything at all. Then we actually came back, actually at 3. We were back at the house. And Nanda's like, oh, start putting the insulation. And then I was kind of hesitant to agree because I told him, hey, like, we're going into the hottest part of the day. Maybe we could do it at 7. And he's like, no, I don't want to do anything at 7 or like, later. And I want to finish today. And I'm like, okay, we're probably not going to finish today, but so it's going to be really hot, but okay, I'll work through it. And also because I know most of the things that I get to do, they're not the hardest because I don't really know much about construction or using tools, although I'm learning. And also he gets impatient. Anyway, halfway-ish through, he goes to the shade and sits and takes off his shirt. And then he's just like sitting there, and I hadn't noticed he had done that until like I looked, because I thought he was just waiting for me to finish with my task. And then I tell him like, oh no, I just look at him and he's like, come over here. And I'm like, okay. And I had to walk like, I don't know, for like a minute. And then he's like, oh, can you bring me the water from the fridge that was like 5 feet away from him? And I'm like, okay, like, why couldn't you grab it? He's like, I'm sitting here for a reason, my body hurts. And I'm like, oh my god. So I was like worried, but then I think he just needed water because it was really, really hot. And because of that, he was like getting more impatient, and he was like, oh, you go ahead and do it, like, I'm too fat for this. And I'm like, okay. Like drilling some holes at the bottom for the sheetrock. And then he was like sawing through something, and then he messed up, and then he's like, oh, you tell me, blah blah. And I'm like, you're the one who's doing it at an inclined position, and so doing this to yourself. And so he's like, no, now you do it. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, oh, you're too slow, let me do it. And I'm like, okay, no, now you're gonna wait for me to do it. But anyway, this always happens when we go out and do something. People are hot, they're thirsty, they're tired. Not the best combination to try to work in a team, and especially with a teammate who doesn't know how to lead or teach, and another one that is a very, very beginner in everything that they're doing. So yeah. Anyway, we continued. We finished that up actually. Well, as much as we could for the day. I picked up the tools, put him in a little pile, like out of the way. Like everything was fine. And then, so we're like, oh my god, that took like 3 hours, like nonstop. There were some hurdles, like Hercules didn't want to get out of the shed because he didn't want to get out of the AC, but we needed them to get out. Anyway, everything was fine. And then we took a shower, and we were like happy that we were able to take a shower during the daylight, and there were no mosquitoes. That was great. shower went fine. Then we were just laying in bed, like on social media, and then I'm like, oh, I think it's time for me to like put the kids inside their little house, because I do that nightly. So because they bark a lot at night, so, and it wakes me up. So, and it wakes Nando up. So we have to put him inside the shed. So anyway, I'm like, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna put a shirt over, and then I'm not even gonna take my glasses because I'm like, I already know where everything is. Yeah, I can't really see that well. Like, not even like only far. But anyway, I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. Then I start setting up their little elevated dog beds inside the shed. And then out of nowhere, I hear the tiny ones like shoot and start barking. Like, they shoot out of the shed and start barking towards the front of the property. And I'm like, okay, like sometimes they do that for like weird reasons. Like, I try to see if there's anything to worry about, and there's nothing. But then the bigger ones like went out as well. And then they came back and, they just didn't do anything. But like during that, I was like, are they barking at the cows? Because I did hear the cows like be towards the front of the property, but on the other side. And then I was like, and but then I'm like, am I like a little too blind, and I'm making stuff up with my brain? Like, do I see a parked white truck in the front and then a person moving? Like, it looked like they were bent and then they stood up. And I was like, let me go inside the shed because I don't want them to see me. Because, yeah. And then I was like, they probably they probably would like me to go in the front to like address whatever's going on. Because I don't think, like, over here in this area, like, people just, they don't stop for any reason. And especially because, we don't have direct neighbors in that direction. So it is very suspicious. But I was like, I can't even approach because I'm not wearing anything under the shirt, not bottoms of any kind. And so I was like, yeah. And also, I don't have my glasses. I can't really see anything. But obviously, the most worrying part is that I'm only wearing a single shirt. So I go hide in the shed, and like, thankfully, like, Nana was seeing inside the shed through the camera. So I call him and I'm like, Nana, I think like someone's in the front, like, come over here, check it out, because I don't have any pants, or yeah, any bottoms. So yeah. So he goes over there, he checks it out, and then I'm like, like, he's staying over there for quite a while, like, he must have found something. And then I heard him like talk with someone, and I'm like, oh, that he's talking with his dad. So I'm like, something must have happened for sure. And so I go back inside, put some underwear on, put some shoes on, and I bring the headlamp to him, and then he explains that someone left a note that they herded the cows back inside the property because they were apparently at their driveway. And I'm like, what? Like, all of this happened and we were like, la 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 la, inside the RV. So yeah, that's apparently why the person was there. Yeah. And so Nando had to go get some feed for them so that they could easily come back to the other side of the property, and then we would close off the other side where they got out from. And he's like, so much for my relaxing night. But yeah, I was like, well, they herded them for you, so they did most of the hard work, so we're okay. And so he was like, that's what living in the country gets you. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's what happens. Late night adventures. And thank God everyone and everything was fine. So Yeah, it was just a slight annoyance, and then we have to figure out the fence thing, how the cows came out.